What's happening? Classic Chris here with another episode of Wrestling Talk, and I'm here with my guest Jay Moore, and we're talking about Indy Wrestling. Jay, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, good to be here. Good to be back.
Oh yeah, always a pleasure to have you. Today we're talking Indy Wrestling. That's right. Jay, you've been in the business for how long now?
Well, I'm going on my 10th year. I
10
started,
years, eh?
I probably started 0506. It's been a good run. I started as a promoter. I worked my way into managing. I did some commentary, and I was around a good era of indie wrestling, no doubt about it.
Like, out of the two, managing and commentary, what did you find more interesting? Like, what did you enjoy doing more?
Oh, I love doing commentary. I mean, for a while, I kind of wanted to not do the managing thing anymore because I sort of thought I ran its course a little bit, and I kind of did enjoy doing commentary, but a couple times I've been pulled right off. I never forget the first time in Kitchener. Anthony Darko said, "Hey Jay, you're wasting your time with this stuff," and he wanted me to manage him. And we were over as heels in Kitchener at TCW, and I don't know. I did the commentary since at a couple different places, but I enjoy them both. I mean, I'm working with good guys, so even doing the managing stuff, it's it's been a good ride for me.
And speaking of good guys, what some of the guys you managed? You managed Tyson Dukes. Turner and Davis.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the Neo days, and that was probably my one of my favorite eras of being a manager because before that, I was just getting started, and I was probably 3-4 years in when Jesse wanted to start Neo again, and kind of unbelievably welcomed me into Neo, and I worked every single show there on the second generation of Neo when it was the Neo Wrestling Federation, and that's when I got to work with good guys. To answer your question, he pumped me up. I started with Andrew Davis there, who can work a match with anybody. Andrew Davis is great. Scotty Turner, I ended up with next, is damn good wrestler too. Then he put me with Cody. Then he put me with Tyson Dukes, and then I started learning the art of managing through those guys who knew how to put me in good spots, who knows how to put together a match. The mechanics of wrestling and them knowing how to work with a manager made all the difference to me. So Neo was one of my favorite, that's where I started to come up a level as a manager.
And speaking of good guys, how important is it to have a tight locker room, when you're doing a show and everything? How important is it to have a good locker room?
Well, I love it because, over the past few years, I've learned to take my booking selectively, and I love... here in Ontario, you're kind of lucky because there's so many guys that actually have a passion and care about doing good wrestling. You talk about Tyson Dukes, you're saying, Cody Gaynor, Crazy Steve is from here. Sean Spears is from here. Jesse, all those kind of guys, Neo. It was a great locker room, and it's important because a Pepper Parks, these are kind of guys that I like working with, and to me, that's a tight locker room. And honestly, that's a locker room that I don't mind being in, for the rest of my career. If it ended there, that would be great because for me, that was a good era of guys in the indie business in Ontario. Yeah. And you get in these other locker rooms. I mean, there's shows that are, I hate to say it, but there's stuff out there that's just not so good. There's locker rooms where you can't even trust people. There's people you don't even know. If you're in with a good locker room where the guys travel together, they put over matches together, and they deliver good stuff, and the crowd loves it. That's the kind of atmosphere I like to be in.
Yeah, but just to put on a good quality show, you need to have a tight locker room, where guys that they can trust each other when they go out there in the ring.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, you absolutely need. It's nice to have that kind of a locker room. Absolutely.
Even now with Crossfire, that's a pretty tight locker room. Last show, just the talent there in that locker room, Diener, EY, Congo Kong.
Yeah.
And you manage Congo Kong now. How is that? That's got to be different from managing some of the other guys in your career.
I absolutely love it. I mean, I think Congo Kong. I mean, back in the day when I started, I used to manage a guy named Quan Chang. Yeah. And it was it's supposed to be I was supposed to be the talker for Quan Chang because Quan Chang wasn't a talker, but Congo Kong is a whole, I'm not making that comparison so much, but it's back to an old school where he's not going to be sitting there doing mic spots, but this guy looks devastating when he comes to the ring. The matches that he puts on, the moves that he's done, and the career that he's had is unbelievable. I'm a big fan of working with Congo Kong, and I hope I get to do it for a long time.
Well, and look how hot the indies have been right now. Like, just shows like Crossfire, like wrestlers like Crazy Steve's come in, Showtime Eric Young, Congo Kong, and now upcoming Rhino's coming in, and Pepper Parks.
I think
like Dan Severn came in like last year, like that, like.
I think as a whole, like you were saying earlier, I was 10 years in the business here, but this is actually the best era I've seen over those 10 years of indie wrestling now, because there's so many great companies out there, like just in Ontario alone. I mean, if you start from Windsor, you got Border City Wrestling. They put on top quality shows. I would say the best in Ontario, no matter when they pop up and do a show. In Mississauga, you got Destiny, you got Battle Arts with Santino as a trainer now. You can go and learn some proper training at a proper facility. Smash Wrestling, I'm a big fan of that. Look at the talent they bring in. Crossfire, like you're saying. Yeah. I mean, you got guys, and the guys that are available to take indie bookings, like a Showtime, like even a Congo Kong is at Global Force.
Yep.
Cody is on his way there probably because the fans are going to support this. It is now a really hotbed, good time for wrestling. Crowds are coming out; they're bigger than ever now, and it's really
Yeah, it's a good time. Like Rhino was just on, he just did a pay-per-view, TLC, not that long ago.
Absolutely.
And now he's going to be at Crossfire, and that's a good thing. These guys they still have a passion for the business.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, with good companies, it makes these guys want to work, and they show up and they put on a killer show.
And if they're treated right by the promoter, if business is done properly, these guys will stick around and help you out.
Yes.
Like a guy like Rhino has been such an asset, even to everybody that he's worked with. Like he's unbelievable. Look at the kind of shows that somebody like a Tommy Dreamer will put out there with his House of Hardcore. I think, in my opinion, that's probably the best independent kind of company, if you want to call it that, around. I mean, the quality, the experience that you have, the talent that you have. Like, we're not talking about just a show. Like, this is like a quality show. They came into Toronto. I went down to that show. It was the best show I've seen in years, and I'm an old school fan. You know? I'm a big fan of it. I mean, the indies right now are doing really well, and it's a good time to be a fan of the independent scene. I mean, if, WWF has its own thing, WWE, sorry. Everybody has its own thing, but, the indies are producing some really good stuff right now.
Like, they're, like speaking of Cody Gaynor, like you're saying, like, the fans are behind him trying to get this guy into Global Force. Like, that's awesome. Like, he's a champion everywhere he goes right now.
Well, Cody Gaynor, I worked with him a long time. And,
you know him very well.
Sure, I know him very well. And although we may have some dissension now, there's been, some things going down at Crossfire. And it was very political and, for, between Diener and I. But listen, I've worked with Diener for a lot of years, like you say, and I've done a lot of good things with Diener. And Diener brought me to the next level as a manager. Yeah. And Diener in Ontario has been, no matter where he goes, everybody likes Cody Gaynor, good, bad, or indifferent. The guy's the best, and the fans will send Cody to Global Force because they are going to want to see it. And a guy like Jeff Jarrett, another perfect example of having somebody.
Man.
He keeps his eyes on the indies and he sees what's going on, and he'll deliver what the fans want to see. So if the fans want to see Cody, they will send him there on their own, And God bless them. I mean, although I've had a falling out with them, hey, I'll take care of business when we get to it. But as far as him going somewhere to Global Force, absolutely, they need him over there, and he deserves it.
Oh, exactly. And think about it, when he became the Crossfire Heavyweight Champion, how organic the crowd just fell in love with Cody Gaynor. Well, a chair shot from you didn't help.
The whole thing was bad business for me altogether, and it was like the start of the downfall between the Diener and myself because, I mean, it's not like I want to sit here and spill the beans on your show, but it was bad business. I mean, the guy went into business for himself, and, I brought him into Crossfire, and I think I did a lot of things for Cody, and he smelled gold. I mean, Jeremy Elliott couldn't defend the title, and Cody was the first one out there, although I'm doing business with Congo Kong, and it pissed him off a little bit. And but I don't care. I'm there to do business, and Cody went into business for himself, and he's very selfish in a lot of ways when it comes to Jay Moore. I mean, he's never going to give me credit if he does go to a Global Force. He's never going to sit there and give me credit for the things that I've done with Cody. Cody's gonna, take off out of here, even if I need him down here. You know what I mean? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. So, it's been a sad parting of the ways between Diener and myself, but the business rolls on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. All right, so Jay, you've been in the business for around 10 years now or so. You got to have at least one or two funny road stories. At least give me one funny one that sticks out to you.
Oh God!
Over 10 years, you got to have something.
There's been so much stuff over the years. I mean, when
you
I
don't
first
have to name
broke
names
in,
if you don't want to.
When I first broke in, I worked for so many jabroni promotions, and there's so much things that went on over 10 years that I forget most of them. But I'll never forget. I told you a lot on the last podcast about some Bobby Roode stories that are really good, so I'm not gonna bring that up again. But
stories involving you, or it's someone a dumb promoter or anything like that.
Back in the day,
something funny.
We did a series of shows in Duntire. I think it's a different name of the venue now, but it was Duntire Ballpark. It's a stadium in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Major deal. The Buffalo Bisons play there. And, we're going back a few years. They used to run some great shows at the ballpark, and they brought in a lot of big names. And the wrestling was called Ballpark Brawl.
Yeah.
And you're talking they had CM Punk there. They had the top names, and some of the top talent from Ontario and some of the top talent from Western New York, some of the talent from Ring of Honor, the whole deal. So I'll never forget. We were at a restaurant. One of the sponsors for one of the shows, they brought Bret Hart in.
Excellent, the Hitman.
And it was we were going to the sponsors restaurant to have a lunch with Bret Hart. It was the promoter, it was Dan Murphy and myself. We're kind of in booking. They had a kind of a booking committee we were part of.
Dan Murphy from PWI.
Yeah.
Wrestling Illustrated. Yeah.
And then Brett was in, and we're sitting at a table, and the waitress comes over, and she goes, she's looking at Brett, and she's like, I know you from somewhere. Who are you? And Brett kind of plays it cool, and he's like, I've been around and stuff like that. He doesn't really tell her who he is or anything. He's kind of playing with her.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, who are you? And he's playing with her. She ends up taking our order. She goes back to the bar area, and then she's talking to the bartender, and she's like, who is this guy? She knows it's some sort of celebrity in town. And so the bartender, whispers in her ear what it is, and she comes back to the table all excited, and she goes, "I knew it! I know who you are now! I knew it! I knew it all along! You're Shawn Michaels!"
Oh no!
All of us kind of drop our drinks, and we're like, "Oh my god!" And we thought Brett was gonna jump over the table and go crazy at this bar. But it ended up he played it cool and just kind of blew it off, and he was gave her a smile, and it was just an awkward bad moment in the heat of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and the heat of that feud. She comes over to the table like that, and it was a moment I'll never forget because oh my god, I got nervous.
That is funny. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Wow.
There's been so many, but that one stands out. You know?
Yeah. I'd say, man, if so, wow. I can't believe that she called him Shawn Michaels. That's so funny.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
That's so funny.
It was such a good time in wrestling. The ballpark brawls.
Yeah.
I wish some of that stuff was online, but it used to be available on DVD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they brought in the Doctor of Styles, Slick.
Oh, excellent.
He was such a cool cat. He was, so
Slick
funny.
Back in the 80s.
I remember they brought Sandman in a few times. We got drunk with Sandman at one of the bars, and he was talking about this tattoo that Raven has on his hip of it's something ridiculous. It's almost homosexual. I don't even remember what it is, but
Sandman, a real man of the people.
Yeah, Fonzie, Bill Alfonso hanging out. I mean, those were
love the ECW guys. They're awesome.
Yeah, they were great. They were absolutely great.
That's excellent. Okay, for indies, there's a lot of strong talent. Not only in Ontario, but
sure.
around the States and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna ask you a quick question. Can you name your top 5 workers right now, current workers?
Oh,
like not guys that are retired or anything like that. Like guys
I mean,
that
it's such a tough question because you're talking about. I mean, I love a lot of the talent. You know, like you say, it's all over the place, New York and Ontario. I mean, it's top 5. I mean, you could talk about guys like Bobby Roode. Yeah. Like, would you consider that an independent talent? I don't know.
No,
like,
he's on TV. He's on TV.
Okay, so you're
it's
talking
no Roots, no Eli's, no Steves.
All right.
Like guys that aren't on TV.
I'm gonna say, you know, I don't know, and I'm not gonna deliver this in order.
Yeah,
but,
no particular order.
Like Hellcat, you know, in Rochester. Great talent. Congo Kong, of course, I think is unbelievable. Diener, great. Tyson Duke's great. Pepper Parks, fantastic. I mean, I'm picking a lot of, you know.
That's like 5 right there.
Yeah,
like
there's 5 right there.
That's a good list.
And I mean, that's not even like, I mean, you're talking, there's so much all over. Like, you're talking about, like, you know, United States, all over United States. You're talking, like, there is good wrestling everywhere right now.
Is.
I mean, for people to talk about, like, there's 2 options, TNA and WWE, I think, like, people are actually overlooking how far the indies have come nowadays. I mean,
don't forget, there's still talking, like Global Force, there's still, like, the Destinies.
Yeah. Like, when I started, we were having shows in little Legion halls and stuff like that. Now, I mean, and, you know, when I started, like, you could get away with just having a ring and, you know, a half-decent crew and kind of just putting indie wrestling out there. I mean, I came in at the time, it was before Facebook and any social media, so it was like you would poster the town, you know, but guys have come such a long way now because, you know, back when I started, guys like Danger Boy were like the leaders, and like these guys have kind of left the area, and now the guys that they trained are now training us, and they did such a good job. They paved the way. Guys like Jesse, you know, Showtime had a school out, you know what I mean? And now you look at your Jake O'Reillys. You look at your Sean Spears is, like, doing great in the WWE. Like, Cody's on his way. You know what I mean? Like, everybody is like, the indies are doing very, very well right now. And there isn't options for other people. I mean, there's lots of stuff you can watch online. There's iPay-per-views. It's a good time for wrestling, and there's so many different styles out there. So, I mean, everybody has a choice.
Oh, exactly. Like, there's just so much out there, like not just like in our area, like New York and Ontario and stuff. Like, it's all over, like out west, like in Calgary and the Albertas. Yeah. Like there's just so much wrestling out there.
I mean, and
so
look at the people that, you know,
and like look at the crowds too. Like just now, starting off in Ontario, like back in the day, like 10 years ago, you weren't getting like 500 to 600 people that it is getting to now.
No, I mean, it was hard to break back into the business back in those days. I mean, it was hot in Niagara Falls where I fell in love with indie wrestling with Neo. I mean, that's when we had Showtime Eric Young, Danger Boy Derek Wild, the ladder matches, Showtime jumping off a billboard out in the parking lot. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they would draw like 1,000 people at a show at a Polish hall on Thornstone Road. They would do that. But these guys have now gone on to bigger and better things and have come back and then, like, repave the road again for the next generation. I mean, look at the guys that came up after them. You know, like I said before, like it's like your O'Reillys, your Darkos, all these kind of guys out there that support the indies now are so good at what they do.
Oh, I agree. And that's going to wrap things up for this episode of Wrestling Talk Podcast. Jay, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Hey, man, I love doing this show. You've come a long way. You got a lot of success with YouTube, and I see some of the stuff you're putting out there. And it's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks. Very, very informative time here. Like, you talked about the indies. You let people know, like, there's some good stuff out there, and people are well informed now. It's like some great information.
I'm a big fan of the indies. I have a spot in the indies, and I'm proud of what I do over there. And you know what? Hey, I hope everybody, you know, I hate using the word support the indies, but like just come out and have a good time, man.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, Jay, and thank you for listening to the Wrestling Talk Podcast.